Doona episode 1 starts with Doona dreaming about performing at a concert, but then, as the crowd cheers, she falls into a body of water and simply lets herself go. In a way, it is almost as if she is saying goodbye to it all. She wakes up from the dream, startled. Elsewhere, Kook Soo-jin and Lee Won-jun are on their way to Seoul. Soo-jin is a big fan of the girl group Dream Suite. He has merch all over his car. Won-jun asks him to look out for his mother now that he is leaving. We learn that Won-jun is going to college and is moving to Seoul to be closer to the school. He worries about his mom and his sister, who were recently hospitalized. Soo-jun promises to help him. Once he gets to his shared apartment, Won-jun meets Doona, who doesn't even greet him back. He tries talking to her, but she ignores him. He also meets Young-hoon, who gives him the rules of the house, and Yoon-taek, who warmly welcomes him. Won-jun starts cleaning his room, which annoys Doona more since she can hear him through the floors. He later prepares pamphlets to advertise himself as a tutor and gets distracted staring at Doona through his window. As the day passes, Won-jun posts the pamphlets around and returns home. He notices Doona on the rooftop, making a call. She looks at him and texts someone that there is a stalker in her building. However, the other party ignores her messages. In the meantime, Won-jun continues cleaning his house and gets a call from Soo-jin. Soo-jin informs him that he managed to get him his first tutoring client. This is good news because Woo-jeon needs the money to cover rent and living expenses. Soo-jin asks about the apartment but gets distracted when a Dream Suite song starts playing. He reminds Won-jun to return his merch hoodie. This is when Won-jun realizes he has been wearing the hoodie all day. The following day, Won-jun is on his way out and starts singing one of Dream Suite's songs. Doona hears him and confronts him. She accuses him of being a stalker, and he tries to clarify that he is not a fan and he only recognized her after she brought the issue up. He walks away. And Doona gets a call from her mom, which she ignores and continues smoking. Won-jun meets with a possible client, and it goes well. On his way back home, Won-jun runs into a girl from his past, Jin-ju. They go out for drinks and catch up. Jin-ju also got into the university and is excited to see a familiar face. After drinks, he sees her off and loans her his scarf since it starts snowing. He heads home and finds Doona sitting outside in the snow. She is crying, and he tries to ignore her. However, she notices and asks him never to sing her song again. As she walks away, she faints, and he calls the ambulance. Doona wakes up at the hospital, and Won-jun pretends to be her younger sibling. The doctor tells him that Doona's body temperature is too low. She will need socks and warm food to get better. Won-jun hurriedly buys her some socks and helps her wear them. The next morning, Won-jun is woken up by a call from Soo-jin. Apparently, the client he met is no longer interested in his services. She thought he smokes since she could smell cigarettes on him. Unfortunately, the scent was from when he talked with Doona earlier that day. Won-jun is pissed that he lost a client because of her. He gets out of bed to pick up a package at his door. He is surprised to find Doona sitting on his package. She invites him to join her for breakfast, and he turns her down. For the next few days, Doona follows Won-jun around, inviting him to meals. Every time though, he turns her down. He even tries to switch up his schedule but runs into her when hanging his laundry to dry. He asks her if she has fallen for him, and she laughs. She clarifies that she is only looking for friendship. He finishes hanging up his clothes, and she gets busy making a wish as the sun rises. For a few seconds, he stares and nearly falls for her. The interactions with Doona overwhelm him to the point he wishes he could move to a new building. At school, he runs into Jin-ju, who returns his scarf. It seems like Won-jun still likes her. Later, he puts up more pamphlets looking for tutoring clients. Unfortunately, the school guard asks him to take them down since they are not stamped. On his way home, he gets a call from Doona, who pretends to be a client. Wonjun tries to hold in his anger, but she nags him to let it out. He lashes out at her, explaining that he needs a job to pay his rent and living expenses. He is not as rich as her and can't lie around all day. Although hurt, Doona pretends she isn't but acknowledges Wonjun's struggles all the same. The next day, Doona no longer waits for him as he continues his day. Wonjun starts feeling terrible for what he said to her. He stops by her place and offers to take her for a meal anytime. She, however, ignores him. A few days later, she shows up at his school during an ongoing lesson and reminds him of his promise. He asks her to wait until the end of the lesson. They later go for ice cream and makeup. She warns him not to fall for her, and they joke around. She notifies him that she will call him more often and asks him not to get angry. He allows her to call him when there is an emergency. The episode ends with Doona narrating how she is grateful she met Wonjun. Even though they come from different walks of life, she feels he is part of her destiny. A flashback to when Doona quit her job. She was at a concert, in the middle of a performance, when it all got overwhelming and she fainted. Amon rushed over to her as the crowd remained stunned, wondering what happened. For Doona, it felt like she was swimming in water as the scene unfolded. Presently, Doona is living at the co-ed house along with 3 men. Of course, Wonjun is one of them. Speaking of Wonjun, he is trying to learn more about his roommates. He narrates what he has learned about Yoontaek. He can't seem to keep a romantic relationship. On the other hand, Yoonhoon has strict dating principles and mostly cares about his fit, healthy body. Lastly, we have Doona, who is still an enigma to Wonjun. The scene cuts to Doona getting ready to leave the house. She heads to a convenience store nearby. Wonjun is also on his way to his new job as a waiter and notices her. He, however, decides not to call out to her. She goes into the store and is anxious about someone recognizing her. Thankfully, the man was only taking a screenshot on his phone to send to his boss. Once Doona is done, she leaves the store and notices Wonjun. Before she can call out to him, the bus arrives, and he leaves. At the new job, Wonjun is surprised to discover Jinju also works there. They quickly greet each other and start working. Jinju seems pleased by this unexpected turn of events. They get along well, making it easy to work together. During his break, Doona calls Wonjun, but he fails to pick up. Instead, he enjoys coffee with Jinju. Through a flashback, we learn that Jinju and Wonjun meet in high school. They used to compete for the top position in class. Wonjun liked her, and Soo-jin informed him that Jinju comes from a wealthy family. One day, Jinju approached Wonjun, asking for help with a mathematical question, and they started getting close. Presently, Wonjun sees Jinju off and heads back home after work. On his way back, he realizes they mixed up their aprons. On the other hand, Doona stays home watching TV and ignoring her mom's calls. She calls P, but he ignores her call. In a flashback, we see her getting a phone from a man. Presumably P, and being reprimanded for not keeping a low profile. The man asks her to stay out of trouble. We circle back to the present. Doona leaves her house for some fresh air and sees Wonjun feeding a cat. She tells him that she hates it the most when someone ignores her call. Wonjun tries to explain he was working, and Doon says she is referring to someone else. He asks why she called, and she answers she wanted to hear his voice. Wonjun is flustered but says nothing. The next day, Wonjun gets a message inviting all civil engineering students to the new semester welcoming party. He considers not attending but changes his mind after learning absentees will be fined. Wonjun heads to the party while Doona sits at home thinking about her days as an idol.